we're here at Essence of Life Radio. I'm Shari Arison with a new series on the path to enlightenment and inner peace. And our first guest is Osnat Steinberg. Hi, Osnat.
Hi, Shari. Glad to be here.
It's very exciting because we're here in Tel Aviv. And up until now, the series has been in Hebrew, and we decided to do it in English as well. So you're our
Great idea.
First guest in English.
Thanks.
And there's a reason for that, because not only do you do what you do, which we'll hear about in a minute, in Israel, but you also do it worldwide through Skype and also in Belgium. So first tell me a little bit about yourself and your background, and then we can hear about what it is exactly that you do.
Well, I was born in Israel in a kibbutz. I was raised as a cowgirl.
That's interesting.
Yes. And I went into physiotherapy at 1980. I went to the United States. I did my master's in physiotherapy.
Where in the United States?
In Houston, Texas.
Okay.
I lived there for 15 years, so I advanced in my professional growth, and I became a manager of physiotherapy department for rehabilitation in the Medical Center of Houston. It's called Texas Medical Center. And then I opened my own clinic, Houston Pain Rehabilitation Specialists. It was a multidisciplinary clinic for pain management with multiple professionals, which I created at that time.
Was it all conventional or conventional and non-conventional?
It was combined.
Okay. Wow, in those years? That's very advanced.
So we had physiotherapy, psychiatry, auricular therapy, movement therapy, massage therapy, and osteopathy.
Okay, but you didn't do at that point energy work.
No, I started learning about energetic problems in when I was in my late 20s.
Okay.
It was almost like in 1885, I started discovering the energy aspect of medicine and healing. And I discovered it. I became a workshopaholic in the topic. I learned many aspects of it. And gradually I've understood through osteopathy and healing and shamanism and other methodologies that there is definitely a space structure, which we have to be aware of.
You studied shamanism as well?
In the early beginning stages, and Reiki and many other methodologies, but I gradually gravitated towards the Kabbalah, which is explanation of how creation is. And I understood the structure of the space where we are, the anatomy of the spiritual system, and then I gradually understood the way the spiritual system is damaged and the correlation of the damages in the spiritual realm on the physical and psychological and mental aspect of the person.
I just want to explain a little something about Kabbalah, because I think, there are many people out there who know about Kabbalah, and then there are those who don't. If I can say that the essence, in my opinion, and you can share your opinion, is really that we're all vehicles to hold light in the essence of it.
Yes, and we're part of the greater creation of all that is. And knowing that and being part of it, but also knowing how we are and being in total completion and wholeness of who we are is an essential base for health.
I totally agree.
Yes, so as physiotherapist with masters in chronic pain and joint dysfunction, I had to find other ways which were not offered by physiotherapy, and osteopathy helped the structural part, but not the energetic part. And that's when I expanded my learning and knowledge in many ways, and I found the Kabbalah really a good base, a good foundation to the general explanation of what's happening, how creation is. And from there, I received most of my growth and evolution through channeling.
Before we get to the channeling, I just want to say that really when we talk about health and we talk about mind, body, spirit, that's basically what you're saying, is that in order to have a wholeness of health, you have to treat the mind, the body, and the spirit, and many other levels of energetic levels as well.
Absolutely, because the spiritual system is the program that activates the physical body. The physical body is the end part of all that is with the spiritual system, which is carrying all our unconscious information.
But there's also the emotional level
Emotion
as well.
is a product of mental explanation we give ourselves to reality. Our interpretation of reality create emotional response. Now, if we do not know how to manage it, then it becomes a problem too.
Okay, so let's go back to the channeling.
Yes.
You said you studied channeling, or you just started receiving. How did that work?
I did study it formally in the United States with some teachers, but it wasn't a constant information. I want to explain that channeling can be in so many ways. It's not only visual reception of information, it's also auditory, it's also sensory way of feeling things. But the auditory part came with the angelic realm, with the archangels, Michael and Raphael and Gabriel, and later on more angels. As I grew up spiritually, my team changed according to my personal evolution. But always the guidance was with the Creator and of light, and the archangels.
That's important.
That's extremely important.
Yes. It's light.
Knowing the space.
Yes. Yeah. So when you have a patient, you basically can get a channeling. Unless it's somebody who's very, very physical and wants only a physical treatment, you can do that as well. But if somebody wants something more holistic, you would then channel and see what's necessary to do for that person.
Yeah, so the channeling I was talking about came with two ways. One was auditory and visual, but one was also with a truth detector.
Okay.
Which is a methodology to get a yes and no answer to a mental question through the body or through the energy. And that helps to be very accurate in diagnosis of what's happening. If you have a series of body of knowledge that you can check what is going on with that person, they come with complaints or situations.
Can you give us some examples?
Yeah, is the problem physical or spiritual in origin? How much of it is spiritual? 90%. How much of it is physical? 10%. So what should I treat first? So with a truth detector, you can really guide yourself to find out what is the most important part which creates the problem.
Well, maybe you can give us an example of some, people that you treated at different treatments, of course, without anybody's name, but just to tell us a story of, how someone came in and how they left and how long it took.
Okay. It's an ongoing case at the moment. It's a lady who is in the final stages of cancer. She's referred as a wife of one of my students. And she comes with severe illness of cancer in her chest, mediastinum, and it's just going worse and not responding to chemo. And she comes to get help from the spiritual perspective, even though she is covering acupuncture and reflexology and nutrition, etc., which are more on the physical components. I found that she had a lot of negative energies that came from some people who were very angry at her, at the extended family. And when that was removed, her health shifted, and all the parameters of the markers in her blood and her CT show that the cancer is totally removed, and now she's at the end stage of removal of cancer in 2 months.
Wow,
she
that's
absolutely
amazing.
Shifted it, yes. And I see her only once a week or in 2 weeks, and I had to remove a lot of negative energies and also negative entities which infested her. When her system was connected properly, I did spiritual rehabilitation of her total system, cleared what was not her, and energies which were not her. And when she was herself, she could start claiming her health back. And she's back to function and walking and doing arts and...
But that's a tricky thing because, I've found in the spiritual realm, and I've done spiritual work also for many, many, many years. And you could have a patient like the patient that you have that will do a complete turnaround, and then someone else with the same types of problems or diagnosis who doesn't. So it's some
depends
sort
on
of an
their
inner
life.
choice, or the lessons that they need to learn in life, or
It's a
what
good
is their
point.
their karma, or so how do you see that?
Okay, so before I accept a client, I have to ask, is this condition a way to heal? Is a way to heal their life and take a turn to the right direction they want to go? Or is it a way out, is an exit?
Okay.
Both ways can be helped to do it in the best way they can.
Oh,
But with
wow.
understanding this is going towards life and this is going towards leaving life, but at the best way, comfort and consciousness possible for them.
Wow. That's
Yeah. So
yeah,
that's
that's
why we
touching.
need
Yeah.
channeling, and also we need the correct, true source of information, and also a truth detector.
Now let's go back to Houston. So you were in Houston for 15 years, and
Yes.
then did you come from Houston back to Israel?
Yes, I returned to Israel in
Okay.
1995, and I'm here since. But at the early 2000, I started to teach in Europe by request, and I'm teaching the one method, which is the spiritual methodology. It's spiritual medicine, basically,
And you're teaching in Belgium.
in Belgium, and people from the countries around Belgium,
Okay.
Holland, France, Switzerland, even from the Czech Republic, England, Italy, Albania, they're coming to take the courses there.
Wow. And you teach in English?
I teach in English.
Okay.
It is 5 levels of courses
Okay.
of the one method.
Do they have translation, or everybody speaks English who comes?
There is a simultaneous French translation and also translation of the books. The workbook of the course, of each course,
Okay.
is translated to, of course, to English and French. And we are working now to do it in Holland too.
And what is the name of the course?
The one method.
The One Method. Okay.
It's the method of the one,
Okay.
the creator, the one.
Okay.
Because all the forces, all the information, all the truth, and all the tools are coming directly between the client and the creator. The healing does not come from me.
Right.
I'm not the channel for the healing, but I'm the agent who is requesting and asking to bring certain forces between the client and the creator directly, so connection must be established first.
Okay, so when you're in Europe, you teach the course. Do you also treat people at that time?
Yes, of course.
Okay.
I have days for sessions, and on some days after the course, I also accept sessions from 6 in the evening until later.
Now, also, not many people would know this, but you also can teach or heal through Skype, or
Of course,
through
long
or
distance.
long distance through the telephone. So
Of course.
really, anybody who's listening from anywhere in the world, if they were interested, they could connect and receive healing over the phone.
Yes, and the most common question, is it effective to be near you, or is it effective if I'm far away? What is the effectiveness of the treatment? And basically, if the treatment is between the creator and the client, my location is irrelevant.
Right.
It's only
but
the
that's
feeling of
but
being
that's
close to me.
energetic work. It could
That's
be-
energetic.
But
Yes.
it also could be emotional work as well, right?
Any energy work includes emotional, mental, spiritual, unless it is physical. But needless to say that the energy is also within the physical body, and the change of the energy within the physical body change the physiology of the cell, intracellular, extracellular, molecular motion and shift of structure according to the energy.
Right. But there are situations where you do work physically, through physical therapy.
Yes.
And yeah.
Of course, if it
So-
is needed with hands-on, especially for people with musculoskeletal dysfunction or organ dysfunction, and then I do manual therapy with osteopathy or physiotherapy according to the condition.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you also wrote a book. You have a book about all of this, right?
Yes,
It's in English as well?
it's in translation at the moment, almost
Okay.
half of it.
Okay.
Yeah,
So we're
it's a
wishing you a lot
book
of
that,
luck with
yes,
coming out in English. Yeah.
thank you. The book is called Spiritual Rehabilitation by the One Method.
Okay.
It's the complete guide for spiritual medicine.
Okay.
And it's basically almost an encyclopedia. It's like a doctor will say what is medicine and how medicine work, and it offers all the tools, the anatomy, all the patterns of dysfunction and injuries, including combined soul injuries in past lives, all past life trauma patterns, all the symptomatology, complaint list, and how it happens, and what is the way to heal it. So it's also a guidebook for healers. If you have the tools, you can apply through the book easily. The healing basically happens between the client and the creator directly. Mm-hmm. So the therapist encodes the energies into the fingers of the hands to pull it in, mm-hmm. and it can be applied to any place in the universe.
You said it's a guidebook for healers. Do you have many healers that come to you as well?
Yes, I have professionals who are healers, doctors, nurses, social workers, psychologists, guides, coaches, NLP practitioners, many healthcare providers, and people who give human services.
But I know you also treat children as well.
Children and babies,
yeah,
and elderly.
Oh, wow.
All,
so you have the
ranges.
the whole
even
spectrum.
Embryos.
So explain, what would you do for a baby, for example?
Babies who come or prematurely and their soul has difficulty entering the body. Babies that are born too late and they have delayed labor and the soul cannot come in, and they have failure to thrive, or they have developmental problems.
How would a, regular family who don't know about past lives or souls or healing or any of that conversation, just your day-to-day people who have a problem with their child, how would they even know that the soul didn't come into the body properly?
They don't know. They see the complaints and the difficulty of the child or the baby. They don't know that is the source of the problem, but many children have difficulty not only to eat and grow, or they have problem to sleeping. They have digestive problem. They have respiratory problem. They have skin problems. So some problems are from the family. Some problems are entry to life. Some problems are past lives that are still acute, never healed, and active in the baby's life. So the therapist has to identify what type of injury it is.
Wow,
and why
that's
is the baby
so amazing to me, because I don't know that I would think, and like I said, I've been on a spiritual path, but I would never think, that the baby, thinks spiritually. That's interesting.
Yes, the first 4 or 5 years, the latest lifetimes are so vivid and alive in the baby that if there are traumatic deaths or events in recent past lives, they're very much alive in the baby and the child, and they're feeling it and they're behaving it, but the adults don't have that information, so they treat them physically with medications, with behavioral attempts, but the source is never healed.
Oh, that is so interesting.
So also behavior problems, developmental problems, delays in motor or communication stages also can be helped.
What about pregnant women?
I treat them as well, not only bodily, but also spiritually. And I can also treat the embryos within.
So if somebody's having problem, getting pregnant, for instance, that's
that
something
too,
you
because
also
it
treat?
could be from so many reasons, from soul lessons to multi-generational blocks to past life traumas, or vows or contracts, or gates of heavens that are closed and need to be opened, or negativity, blocked from past lives or the dynasty that pass from generation to generation, life programming that is blocking from early childhood, fears, grandmothers or great-grandmothers' problems with loss of babies, which next generation are trying to fix for them unsuccessfully.
But it's endless. I mean, it's
No,
such a
there's
wide...
a list of there's a very recognizable list of symptoms and reasons. If you know them, you can check with the Truth Detector which one it is or which one of them are included in that problem. It's including in finding a couple relationship or marital problems or family dynamics or personal evolution or professional development or career blocks or financial blocks. All these can be from a spiritual source or mental, developmental in this life. I mean,
So financially as well, if somebody
absolutely.
is constantly having problems financially, it's also could be some kind of block, spiritual block.
Absolutely, absolutely. So if you know all the reasons, you have a list of all the reasons that cause blocks on that. You have a truth detector, you can scan it, find which one it is, on which energy body it is, from which source. Is it family? Is it dynasty? Is it past life? Is it lesson? Before incarnation? After incarnation? What pattern of injuries? What kind of past life? There are different kinds.
How about if,
It's
if
easy.
somebody comes to you and they don't believe all of this, they got a recommendation or they heard you now on the radio and it sounds interesting, but they don't really believe it. Does it still work?
Well, if they don't believe but they want help, I have to talk to them in the language they can relate to and choose the words which make sense to them, which is in the realm of their understanding. Otherwise, I lose them and they don't get what they really came to receive. So I have to talk to them in their language.
Right.
But do everything that needed to be done at the same time. I do it
But
mentally.
it has to be relatable to that person.
Absolutely. It can be a child, can be a teenager. It can be a person with language barrier, or people are just uneducated about it and just don't know enough.
Or resist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And some people resist it. They don't want to know about it. And they may say, do whatever you have to do. Just don't tell me. I want to feel better.
So how does that work? If somebody says, do whatever you have to do, so you receive the okay to do it.
Yes.
But they don't want to hear about it. It'll still work?
Yes. I ask their soul to release whatever needs to be released. Their soul brought them in to my space to get help. But mentally, they have some block about it, or they're too scared, or have beliefs about that spirituality is old lady's tale and it's not real.
Yeah.
So
I find a lot of people are frightened about it. I know that
scary.
when I talk about souls or past lives, it's like, oh, that's scary to me. The amount of people that say that to me, that's scary to me. And I'm like, why is it scary? It's fabulous. To me, it just seems so natural. But some people are very scared to even hear about it.
Or because of events, but primarily I think it comes from historical and family education about don't touch it, it's dangerous, what you don't know and you cannot affect and you don't see, you feel powerless about it. So if you don't know what to do, you don't have the tools, the fear of powerlessness, of being affected by forces that control you have great deep roots in our history.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah.
So what else, what tips do you have for people who are listening? Is there anything that, somebody could walk away with that they can say, oh, I can do this differently or I can do that differently and change my life for the better?
I think that the most important thing that people need to understand is that there is a source for all creation, and connecting to that source of love, light, life, compassion, grace, abundance, wisdom, and wholeness can lead to health and normal, steady manifestation. The other thing is to connect to their own soul. The soul is a spiritual body which keeps our lives in our body. Otherwise, we're corpse.
How would you tell somebody to connect to their soul? I mean, I mean, to me, it's very, very clear. But to most people, you say connect to your soul.
It's
They don't know
vague.
what it means. They don't know
It's
how to do
it's
it.
very ambiguous and vague.
Right. So what would you say to someone who says, okay, if I want to connect to my soul, how do I do that?
I would tell them to talk to their soul as if it is existing and ask the soul to connect to them, to come in to their core. Because in a time of stress, a time of fear, a time of difficulties, the soul may get detached and stay on higher dimensions, and the person doesn't know how to call it back. So I always tell people to say, I ask my soul to come back to me, to one complete body and soul, to oneness, as a sentence, which is an intent, a request.
I also find that you can have more and more of your soul inside your body. In other words, the more we are cleansed, and maybe you can talk about that as well, the more we cleanse ourselves, and that goes back to being a vehicle for light and Kabbalah, the more we cleanse ourselves, we make room for more light, which means we make room for more of our soul within us.
Correct.
What would you say about that?
I absolutely agree with that. Having spiritual hygiene means that we clear our accumulated emotions, wrong thoughts, or beliefs. We restructure our main channel of light and our energy fields so we can be a vehicle and a vessel for more light. The more we remove blocks, reconstruct our spiritual structure to normal, we can contain more light and be more effective and healthy. Also, the soul is built from different sections in different worlds. So the aura is in the physical world, but we also have a spirit, we have emotional soul, mental soul, spiritual soul, divine soul, and Godhood soul. And their presence in different worlds.
Okay, now that I understand that, but a lot of our listeners might not understand. What do you mean by different worlds?
Creation is made of different frequency, like if you would look at the piano, you have different sections of do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, si. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, si. So each world is built with 12 dimensions, and the worlds are going higher and higher and higher away from the physical, or if you will look at it from the top, they go lower and lower and denser in the frequencies and in the material aspect. So the energy gets denser the further
As
away.
you get more physical,
as you
get
come
more
closer to the physical reality, and loose and diluted the further away you go. And each world has 12 dimensions, and there are 5 worlds of creation according to the Kabbalah. The outwards world is the ancient human world, and then world of emanation, world of creation, world of formation, and world of action, where the physical reality exists. So in each world of those worlds, there is a soul part which resides in that frequency and function in that reality. So we have to be connected to all those soul parts. And
which gives us more light, more wholeness, more health.
Absolutely, and more success in what we're doing. And all the unconscious mind data is stored in those soul bodies, which is our unconscious mind, or our unconscious container, is all our soul levels. That's where it's contained.
Before we come to a conclusion, I would love another example that doesn't have to do with health. For instance, and I know this from you and from the things that I've worked with you on, is, when someone has drama or arguments within a family or within a community or with a neighbor, it can be, everybody.
Or with a nation.
With a nation, or it really doesn't matter. It could be on any level. It can be, inner struggle that somebody has, or it can be an outer struggle with someone close. It could be with a partner. It could be with a friend. It could be with, your surroundings. That's something that can also be cleansed, and all of a sudden there's peace, and it's like magical.
Right. So human relationship happens between their spiritual bodies first, and their consciousness and their reactivity is an outcome of reasons. When you find the reasons, historical reason, karmatic reason, family reason, even heavenly verdicts, if you can call it that way, then you understand that there is a reason why this condition happens. What is the under subcontext reason, which is maybe past life, maybe multi-generational pattern in the family, or even national karma, or incomplete karma between people, families, tribes, nations.
It could be unfinished business. It can be a lesson that we're learning.
Absolutely. So when you understand that and you clear it, then peace comes, and people suddenly do not have the overload of emotions, thought, and craziness. Also, there is something that is important to understand, that lessons, this is one of those messages I want to leave maybe with this interview, is that we are in a new age now. Our mission is to complete the lessons, not to recycle them. We have to complete them. So we need to know what they are. And there are 12 lessons for humanity, of this humanity, finishing this old age, coming to this new age. And we have to...
When you say 12 lessons, give an example. What is each lesson?
The first lesson is unity. Second lesson is the soul's need. Third lesson is the soul's will. Fourth lesson is soul's perception of life. Fifth lesson is what the soul wants to learn about. There are 12 patterns you can learn. Sixth lesson is contracts, different contracts about different human relations.
Spiritual contracts.
Spiritual contracts. Seventh lesson is human and family relations. Eighth lesson is independence. Ninth lesson is the ability of the soul to choose and manifest. 10th lesson is responsibility. 11th lesson is courage. And 12th lesson is self-value. These are the incarnational lessons of humanity on earth. All other karmas are trying to complete the lesson and finish it, not to recycle it.
I'm with you. Amen.
And there are other lessons that are pre-incarnation from previous eras or previous civilizations on earth, or states when the soul was not incarnated in physical body yet. And there are also 12 lessons. And there are era lessons of 12 previous eras of creation. Now we're on the 13th era starting. So we have to finish it and unload it, clear it, and move to the new life clear of all these loads, not recycling it all the time.
So that we can all live in happiness and peace.
Correct. Which is the intent of this new age, to learn in goodness, not through hardship.
I agree. Thank you so much,
Yes.
Osnat.
You're very welcome.
And good
It's
luck.
my pleasure.
Thank you for coming.
I hope we've given our audience enough points for thoughts.
I think we gave them a lot of points for thoughts.
Yes.
Thank you.
You're very welcome.